The room you are sitting in feels real. You can touch the grain of the wood on the desk, feel the weight of the air, and hear the low hum of electronics. For most of human history, this was the only reality that mattered. We defined our lives by the things we could hold and the ground we could stand on. If you wanted to protect something, you built a wall. If you wanted to claim something, you planted a flag. Power was a function of physics. It was about how many bodies you could put in a field or how much stone you could pile into a fortress. We understood scarcity because we lived in a world of atoms. Atoms are heavy, they are finite, and they are difficult to move. But something has changed. There is a subtle vibration in the architecture of our world that suggests the old walls are no longer where we think they are. We are witnessing a quiet, total inversion of how the world is governed. It is an inversion of scarcity itself. In the physical world, abundance is the goal and scarcity is the enemy. We spend our lives trying to make sure there is enough food, enough fuel, enough space. But in the digital world, the natural state is total, infinite abundance. A file can be copied 1 billion times at zero cost. A thought can be broadcast to every mind on the planet simultaneously. In this realm, the old rules of power do not apply. You cannot build a stone wall around an idea. You cannot guard a border made of light. And yet, we find ourselves entering an era where digital things are becoming more strictly limited, more intensely guarded, and more sovereign than anything in the physical world. This is the scarcity inversion. We are moving from a world where we use laws to manage physical scarcity to a world where we use math to manufacture digital scarcity. Consider the nature of a border. A border is simply a place where one set of rules ends and another begins. For centuries, these lines followed rivers and mountain ranges. They were dictated by the reach of a cannon or the endurance of a horse. They were social constructs enforced by violence. If you had enough power, you could ignore the line. If you had enough influence, you could change the rules. Physical borders are, at their heart, negotiable. They are subject to the whims of men, the decay of treaties, and the entropy of time. But a mathematical border is different. A border defined by an encryption key or a consensus algorithm does not care who you are. It does not care about your intent, your status, or your grievance. It is a wall made of logic. We are beginning to realize that math is the only truly sovereign thing we have ever discovered. It is the only thing that does not require a police force to be true. If a system is designed so that a specific output requires a specific computational proof, there is no amount of political pressure that can change that outcome. You cannot bribe a prime number. You cannot intimidate an elliptic curve. This realization is shifting the seat of power away from institutions and toward protocols. We are moving into a reality where the most important territories in human life are not measured in acres, but in bits. These are the new sovereign borders. They are invisible, they are everywhere, and they are absolute. When we look back at the 20th century, we see a world obsessed with the control of physical resources. We saw wars over oil, over gold, over shipping lanes. But the wars of the future will be fought over the integrity of the math. We are building a world where your ability to participate in society, to own property, or even to prove your own identity depends on your relationship to a series of cryptographic proofs. It is a strange, cold kind of freedom. It offers a level of security that no king could ever provide, but it demands a level of personal responsibility that we might not be ready for. In the old world, if you lost your key, you could call a locksmith or the police. In the new world, if you lose your private key, that part of your reality simply ceases to exist for you. There is no appeal process for the laws of mathematics. There is a certain darkness in this transition that we rarely talk about. We are trading human empathy for algorithmic certainty. Our old institutions were flawed, yes. They were corrupt and slow and biased. But they were also human. They had the capacity for mercy. They could look at a situation and decide that the rules shouldn't apply this time because it would be cruel or unjust. Math has no such capacity. A smart contract is a suicide pact with logic. It executes because the conditions were met, regardless of whether the outcome is tragic. We are building a cage made of perfect glass. It is beautiful, it is transparent, and it is unbreakable. We are convincing ourselves that because the system is fair, it is also good. But fairness and goodness are not the same thing. As we move deeper into this inversion, the physical world starts to feel like a simulation of the digital one. We used to use the digital world to track what was happening in the physical world. Now, we use the physical world to serve the needs of the digital. We build massive data centers that consume the output of entire power plants just to maintain the integrity of a mathematical ledger. We reshape our cities to accommodate the logistics of algorithms. We are witnessing the physical world becoming a secondary layer, a sort of clumsy interface for the real business of the species, which is now happening in the realm of pure computation. The math is becoming the sovereign, and we are becoming its subjects. Take a moment to think about the objects around you. Your phone, your bank account, your credentials. They are all anchored to this new geography. You might think you own them, but you only own them as long as the math says you do. The moment the protocol changes, or the moment you lose your place in the sequence, the physical object becomes a useless brick. We are living in a world where the most valuable things we possess have no physical form. They are just arrangements of numbers that are very, very hard to change. This is the ultimate scarcity. It is the scarcity of the truth in a world where everything else can be faked. The unsettling part of this realization is that we have no way to turn it back. We have discovered that math is a more efficient way to organize human cooperation than trust. Trust is expensive. Trust requires history and culture and the threat of punishment. Math is cheap. Math works between strangers who hate each other. Once you introduce a system that doesn't require trust, the systems that do require it begin to wither. They cannot compete. We are being pulled into a future where every human interaction is mediated by a cryptographic proof, not because we want it to be, but because it is the path of least resistance. We are optimizing ourselves out of the loop. The silence of the room feels different now, doesn't it? It feels like a thin veneer over a roaring ocean of data. We are sitting on the surface of a planet that is being recoded in real time. The old borders are still there, drawn on maps and guarded by men in uniforms, but they are becoming ghosts. They are becoming costumes worn by an old world that doesn't realize it has already been replaced. The real borders are the ones you can't see. They are the ones that exist in the milliseconds it takes for a signal to travel across a fiber optic cable. They are the ones that decide who has access to the future and who is locked out of it. We like to think of technology as a tool, something we use to achieve our goals. But technology is also an environment. It changes the parameters of what is possible and what is necessary. The scarcity inversion is not just a change in how we handle money or data. It is a change in the fundamental nature of sovereignty. It is the end of the era of the person and the beginning of the era of the protocol. We are building a world that is perfectly orderly, perfectly transparent, and perfectly indifferent to our existence. It is a world where truth is not something we agree upon, but something we calculate. When you look at your hands, you see something that belongs to the world of atoms. You see something that is subject to age and injury, and the slow pull of gravity. But the parts of you that will survive into the next decade, the parts of you that will hold value and exert influence, are the parts that have been translated into the language of the machine. We are migrating piece by piece into the math. We are seeking the safety of the immutable. We are looking for a border that cannot be crossed, a wall that cannot be scaled, and a truth that cannot be denied. And we have found it. But in finding it, we have to wonder what we have left behind. The light from the screen flickers, a series of pulses that represent a reality far more rigid than the one you can touch. We are comfortable here, in the glow of the certain. We have traded the messy, unpredictable freedom of the physical for the cold, perfect security of the digital. We have built a world where the math is the only thing that is truly sovereign. It is a beautiful achievement. It is a masterpiece of logic. It is a fortress that can never be taken by force. If you are standing inside a fortress that is mathematically impossible to leave, does it matter who holds the key if the key is a sequence you have forgotten?